Hello, everyone. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. Winston Churchill. Organ donation is something that saves and/or changes people's lives every day, yet it is a hugely controversial issue for some people. After this speech, I want everyone to consider becoming an organ donor to be a part of giving someone a second chance. Let me put into perspective the dire need for organ donors that continues to increase every day. The best way to describe the need for donors is through statistics. They are really the only way to truly show the need. One organ donor can save up to 8 lives. Imagine being able to make up to 8 people's day. Granted, usually these are as a result of tragedy, but why deny someone else a second chance at life if it's possible? The sad thing is that it happens every day. An estimated 12,000 people who die each year meet the criteria for organ donation, but less than half become actual organ donors. There is also a misconception that organ donation is against a lot of religions. However, this isn't the case typically. Virtually all religious denominations approve of organ donation as it represents the most selfless act a human can commit. On average, 77 people receive organ transplants every day. Yet at the same time, an average of 18 people die every day from lack of available organs. In 2008, there were 107,046 recipients on the waiting list to receive organs, and there were only 27,965 transplant surgeries performed. That's only about 25% of the recipients on the waiting list. Now think about that, and also think about this. Every 10 minutes, there is a new name added to the transplant list. There are more than 111,000 men, women, and children currently needing life-saving organs. As you listen to this speech, there is very possibly another name being added to the list. So now that you somewhat have a grasp for the magnitude of this issue, how is it that someone becomes an organ donor? And how does the process work when someone is put on the waiting list? The process of becoming an organ donor is actually extremely easy. There are several ways you can do it. If you're a military member, which most, if not all of us are, when you get an ID card, you're asked to become an organ donor, which registers you through the military. When you get your driver's license renewed or get a new one, again, you're asked to be an organ donor. Or, if none of these options appeal, then it's as simple as going to www.donatelife.com and registering with your state. It's easy to tell if someone is an organ donor. On their ID card or driver's license, there will be an organ donor symbol, usually a heart that says organ donor on the back of either card. It's so easy to become an organ donor, why not do it? Typically, if you have a better understanding of a process, it doesn't seem so intense or intimidating. I want to explain what happens once someone is placed on the waiting list so that you understand what your donation can do for someone waiting for a transplant. The program that coordinates all organ transplants is called the United Network for Organ Sharing, or UNOS. Once someone is identified as a possible recipient, they are referred by his or her doctor to a transplant center, at which time the transplant center runs a battery of tests, as well as considers the patient's mental and physical status and their social support system. If accepted, then their name is added to the national waiting list for organ donation. If a deceased organ donor is identified, recipients' names are categorized based on several factors, including tissue match, blood type, and the length of time on the waiting list. The organ is then offered to the highest ranked person on the matched list. The recipient must be available, in good enough health to undergo a major surgery, and be willing to be transplanted immediately. That is really condensing the process, but I wanted you to understand that it isn't easy to get on the waiting list. So to become an organ donor is not a decision to take lightly, but it is a decision that can change a lot of people's lives. Although it may seem like a huge decision to become an organ donor, the benefits by far outweigh the negative consequences. One main benefit is it aids in the grief process, not only for the family of the ill individual, but that of the organ donor as well. In the tragic event that the donor has passed away, knowing that their loved one's organs are going to help someone else live a better and healthier life can help those grieving the loss of their loved one. As well as the obvious of the recipient, being grateful for getting the organ. There are several different types of organ donation. This seems like kind of an obvious answer, I know, but there are actually two different types of organ donation. There is a live donation, such as a kidney or liver transplant. Most often this is between friends and family. Living organ donations make up approximately 45% of all transplanted organs in the U.S. Just like there is live donation, there is a donation of deceased persons' organs as well. There are a lot of complications that come with using a deceased person's organs. They have to have been well maintained since the person had passed away, and the deceased person has to have been in relatively healthy shape. So, although organ donation may seem like something that is scary and overwhelming, it's a decision that can save a lot of lives. There is a huge need in today's society for organ donors. The process of becoming an organ donor is so easy it almost seems ridiculous not to be one. While the process of getting on the UNOS waiting list is not so easy, and it can be a very long process. The benefits of organ donation are countless on both ends, but the biggest one is how it aids in the grief process of all parties involved. So hopefully, if you are not an organ donor yet, this will give you the extra information and the push you needed to become one. Thank you.